Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Today's podcast is going to be about conquering fear in the uncertain times. A lot of this having to do with coronavirus and the economy and jobs and people having to be isolated at home. We're going to talk about some natural strategies. Evan Brand, how are we doing today, man?
Hey man, I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to helping people relax a little bit. My wife and I have discussed that even if you don't personally freak out, if society around you is freaking out, that kind of rubs off on you. And even if you're not an empathic person, you could still go into the grocery store and see things wiped out, and that could make you feel unsettled, uncertain. So I can't restock the grocery store shelves. But what I hope to do is you and I talk about strategies to help kind of mitigate that stress response and try to turn off that reptilian brain, that fight or flight nervous system that's freaking people out.
Yeah, exactly. I think number one is stop listening to the mainstream media. I think that's the number one. The first thing is you have to get context, and context requires you to take in data. And if people are giving you data that's skewed or omitting data to push your physiology and your emotions in a certain direction, that's not good. That's not good. So my general recommendation is if you are going to listen to the media, you have to compartmentalize things. You have to be able to compartmentalize the emotion from the facts and from the data and from what's happening. That's kind of like number one. And if you don't have that ability to really compartmentalize, you just got to find some news sources online that just kind of give you the data and not give you the opinion. Most news out there is editorialized. It's someone telling you their opinion, and there's not a lot of facts or evidence behind it. So you really want to look at just the data, so then you can kind of come in there and make a more non-biased kind of perspective on it, and then find news people that, if they're going to give you their opinion, have it backed by data, and then also have context. We can talk about context. We talked about this in our pre-show. What's happening today what's the context for it? Past examples of it. I think we are in uncharted times because the economy just went to hell in a handbasket, yet there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the economy. Essentially, everyone just decided to go on furlough for hopefully a couple of weeks because of the virus scare. So there's nothing fundamentally wrong. This isn't the 2008 housing crisis where millions and millions of loans were given out to people that couldn't pay them, right? This isn't that, okay? This is something totally different. There's nothing fundamentally wrong, and this too shall pass. So I think first off, regarding the economy, just know nothing fundamentally is wrong, number one. Number two, there's countries that are doing great out there that had, let's say, a lot of viral impact, like South Korea. South Korea, for instance, is the size of California. I think it's like 35 million people. South Korea did an amazing job getting through the virus. I think they had a little bit more common sense tactics because the coronavirus is hitting elderly at a much higher rate. I mean, barely anyone on the younger side is actually passing from it. And then when we compare flu statistics, it doesn't even come close yet. Now, it will come to a crescendo, to a bell curve on this thing, and it will go up a little bit, but it will come back down very soon. And just know that with South Korea, they quarantined all the elderly, and they quarantined the sick and the immunocompromised, and they kept their economy relatively moving. And I'm hoping that's what we're going to move to in the next couple of weeks here. Right now, we're just trying to compress that bell curve to decrease our hospitals' need and usage from all the people needing vents and support at the same time. So hopefully after this couple of weeks, we'll have a more common sense approach that can get the economy going. Because I'm far more concerned about the economy long-term being destroyed, the people being homeless and not having the utilities or the food or the resources they need to be healthy and survive.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And you mentioned how all these statistics that come out, or people saying certain things, if they're not backed up, you don't want to get too fear mongered by them. So, for example, you'll look at some of these news articles where they'll say that they expect X amount of infection and X amount of death, but so far every prediction has been under what it was supposed to be. So if they say 1 million people are going to get infected, so far it's a tiny fraction of that. You've got 35 million illnesses of the influenza this year, and we're still counting. You've got 35 to 50,000. The numbers aren't final on the flu, and no one's blinked at anything. So I don't foresee these numbers getting even close to the numbers of the flu. I guess maybe I'll be proven wrong, and I'll go back and look at this interview and everybody's going to say, wow, Evan was so dumb. He was wrong. But I don't foresee that big of a spike where we're going to get to a 50,000 death point.
No, I don't see that either. And again, people will talk and say, hey, you guys are using reason, logic, and evidence and truth, but that's going to create irresponsibility. And if we're not creating hysteria, people aren't going to do the right thing. Well, I reject the premise. I think number one, people need to hear the truth, unbiased, and then actual action steps people can take that are going to empower them. So like number one, we want to have comparison of data. Okay. So first off, what is it? Last night, it was 450 people dead of the coronavirus in about 3.5 weeks. Last week, about 1,000 people died of the flu. Okay. 1,000 people. So let's keep that in perspective. Let's go look at past occurrences. Let's look at the swine flu. Okay. Over 100,000 people passed of the swine flu in this country, 1 million in the world. We did not have a national emergency call for the swine flu until we were 6 months into it, and 1,000 people had died. So there's just not there's no symmetry or parity in how one response is handled versus the coming response. And then number two, if we look at the World Health Organization, the amount of like the statistics and what they say the infection is going to do or kill is always wrong initially. And if we go look at what the recommendations or what they projected with the swine flu, I think it was like 1.4% death rate. And they ended up revising it down 4 years later to 0.01%. They were off by a factor of 63x. Okay, why? Because when you look at pandemics, they have the middle number here is going to be how many people die. That's number one. The second number is how many people actually got the virus. Now, this is the hard part because in the beginning, we don't have all this data. We have people that have symptoms and that test positive. So we know that number, but then the outer data is how many people got it and didn't get sick. Now, according to the head CDC person in Ontario, Canada, forget his name, but he said there's more than likely 20x times the amount of people who are getting this infection and showing no symptoms. One study I posted on a YouTube video last week said 86% are asymptomatic. What does that mean? That means about for every one person that has symptoms, 7 to 8 don't have symptoms. So once you factor in the bigger number, that decreases the mortality, right? As incidence goes up, mortality drops, just basic math, right? So we have to know that off the bat because that's going to decrease a lot of the fear, right? When you know that these pandemics always get rounded down significantly, that's the trend. And the reason why is because pandemic math takes time to do because you need to let the dust settle and you need to get some testing to figure it out. So my general perspective is right now, testing helps with the long-term trends, but it doesn't help you get better because you do a test, it doesn't change anything, okay? If you're high risk, quarantine. If you have symptoms, quarantine. If not, do all the good, healthy social distancing, but still get outside, still get air, still walk, still get sunlight. If you have a sauna or you have access to any exercise inside, kettlebells or a TRX or some kind of in-house yoga, do something to get some movement in there. Don't just be totally isolated in this time. It's really important.
Yep, well said. And I've got just a couple more stats I want to mention, and then let's talk about some of the lifestyle stuff, maybe some herbs or nutrients to help with the nervous system. So our mutual friend, Sayer G, Green Med Info, he had a really good article linking to some of these Italian studies that just got published by the National Health Authority in Italy. More than 99% of the coronavirus fatalities were people already suffering from previous medical conditions. And also more than 75% had high blood pressure issues and 35% had diabetes, and at least 30% or more already had heart disease. And the average age of someone passing is 79.5 years old. So 99%, they already had previous medical conditions.
100%. And not to mention, because I'm looking at all the data. I look at it multiple times a day and I graph it out so I can understand the bigger trends. The thing with Italy, they're getting hit a lot harder than other countries. And I sit there and I ask the questions, why? Well, number one, the biggest thing that we can do in the beginning is a travel ban. That's the biggest thing because that just decreases exposure, right? The whole reason why we're quarantining is decreasing exposure. That's essentially quarantine for a country, so to speak. So that was the number one thing that we did that Italy and the rest of Europe didn't do, okay? Number two is a lot of smoking, a lot of respiratory potential issues there, a lot of comorbidity. Like you mentioned, 1 to 3 different diseases, a lot of multi-generational household living, where kids and parents can pass the infection off to grandparents that may all be living in the same home. Okay. And then also how they are collecting the data in Italy may be a little bit off. So essentially, you're 80 years old, Evan, you die of a heart attack. You come in, they test you for coronavirus. They may say that, they may add you to a coronavirus statistic, even though you died of a heart attack because you tested positive with coronavirus. So we have to, hey, is that happening? Is that inflating statistics? So we're going to have to look at all the data and compare in the end to see if that is the case or not. And then, number two, we're going to have to also compare flu deaths, because in the end, Italy on average had about 25,000 deaths a year because of flu. That's a lot. They had 500,000 cases of flu the week of January 20th. That's a lot. And if you look at people dying of flu who have comorbidities at 0.9%, well, that's a lot of people potentially dying of the flu. That's potentially 4,000 to 5,000 people dying of flu in 1 week if they are in that higher comorbidity age, right? So a lot of people may be taken out by coronavirus that may not be taken out by flu. Does that make sense? So we may be exchanging some coronavirus deaths for flu deaths. We'll have to see how it all parses out. So what we'll do is we'll look at the overall mortality curve, and we'll see if that includes all deaths, and we'll see if that changes at all. See if there's a spike in that or not.
Yep. Well said. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about some actual strategies now that we kind of laid the groundwork here.
Yep.
I think the easiest thing for me that comes to mind, which is free, is EFT. You and I are both big fans of emotional freedom technique, the tapping technique. You can basically just look up any website. I mean, it's all the same. There's a couple different ways people could tap, but in general, you're starting at top of the head, side of the eye, under the eye. You can move on to under the nose, the chin, the clavicle, and there's different acupressure meridians. Basically what this is acupuncture without the needles. It's amazing. You could create a change in your nervous system very quickly. Is this just some like hippie BS? No, it's not. I've actually put on a heart rate variability monitor. I strap myself up. That's one time that I use Bluetooth in my life, is when I'm strapping a Bluetooth monitor to my chest and I hook it up to my phone and with a heart rate variability app. And I'll do 3 rounds of tapping, and I'll just think and say something like, I'm calm, I let go, I release my stress. And then boom, the heart rate variability increases, indicating I'm more in a parasympathetic rest and digest state. And it can happen in as little as 30 seconds.
Yeah. And what I also like about EFT is some people, when they're in a negative perspective, it's hard to be like, think about what you want. Think about what you want to manifest. That's hard. So with EFT, you can also just talk about the problem. Hey, I'm really stressed over the economy. I'm really stressed with my job. I'm really stressed being inside right now. I'm feeling really isolated. So you can kind of just talk about the problem with yourself while you're tapping these different meridian points. And it's helpful because sometimes people just want to talk about it. And if you don't have someone to talk about it with, you can just talk it to yourself while you hit these meridian points, which then calms down the sympathetic nervous system, which helps you process it better. And then as you calm down from it, then I recommend switching. Like, hey, I'm attracting health in my life. I'm doing the right things to be healthy. I'm really blessed and fortunate in my health. And you can kind of do some of the attractor factor stuff where you focus more on what you want to pull in versus the problem. But it's hard because if your nervous system is on edge, you kind of have to calm it down before you can get appreciative and grateful and thankful.
You're totally right. I already feel better. I was noticing I was taking some more belly breaths than I was when we first started, just after doing that. So the clavicle one, I don't know why, but the clavicle one for me, if you can only do one, like if you're driving a car for some reason, or you're in a place where you're in panic mode where you can't think about going through the full motions of the EFT, then even just clavicle, I'm calm. Just something like that could be enough to settle you down. And like I said, this is not just something we're making up. There's practitioners that they literally only do EFT. That goes to show how powerful it is, meaning they're not doing lab testing and supplements and other things that we're doing. They're just teaching you to do EFT, and that's their practice, and that is successful. So it does work.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the thing that's bugged me the most right now is the hysteria, because I personally don't think it's proportionate. And I'm just concerned that the hysteria will go on a little bit too long and have a negative impact on the economy. And I want people to have their jobs and their lifestyle and be able to support their family. So I'm more concerned longer term with the economy than this blip. We're going to get through the viral blip, no problem. And we should still social distance, and anyone that has risk factors should do more in quarantine. But yeah, so we have to talk about, what the issues are, and then also what strategies are. So, You already mentioned the EFT. That's great. Also, do something to boost your immune system. Most people are talking about washing their hands and social distancing. That's the equivalent if you have a income issue, like you're in debt. That's the equivalent of like cutting down your spending. Great. That's awesome. You cut down your spending, you curtail your spending. But what about the other side, which is increase your income? Hey, let's do some gigs. Let's Uber at night. Let's try to make more calls at work. Let's try to maybe work harder or think about it differently or apply for a different job, meaning we're trying to get more income in. So getting more income in my example, is getting a higher level of immune function.
Yeah, why is that not the headline? Explain
Yeah.
to me why you think, I mean, okay, if it were so important and the media or whoever's putting out all these kind of fear-based articles, if they cared that much about the old people or whoever or society, why would there not be, hey, here's so-and-so's top 10 strategies to boost your immune system? Why is that not the top headline?
Well, I think if it bleeds, it leads, right? If
Yeah.
it's solution oriented and it puts you in the driver's seat and makes you feel good about it, is not as much traction, not as much clicks. So I think a lot of it, you have to understand that there's money to be made on manipulating your fears and emotion. And when you understand that, you're in the driver's seat. So once you get that perspective, you're in the driver's seat. So common sense things, and again, these are generalized things. We have people out there that are like, well, you have to customize it. Hey, this is not the time for customization. These are good generalized tips. Number one, vitamin D levels, getting them up as adequate. Great study posted this morning on adequate vitamin D being very helpful to acute respiratory infections. Now, again, if you have vitamin D and you take too much of it, fine. But, most people are low in vitamin D, especially at this time of the year. Number two is a lot of the herbs and nutrients we mentioned last week. We can go over them briefly. Astragalus, immune boosting. Vitamin C is going to be immune boosting. And acetylcysteine will help with the lungs and mucus. And also decreases viral replication. Elderberry kind of works on that neuraminidase pathway and inhibits viral viruses as well. Reishi or medicinal mushrooms, immune boosting. Those are just kind of 4 or 5 right there. Of vitamin A, cod liver oil really helps with the epithelium and helps improve immune function. What else, Evan, do you want to add?
I would say oral and nebulized glutathione could be helpful, especially if you're someone who does actually end up with some lung problems. Nebulized glutathione can really help to open up that breathing pathway.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say, hey, if you're in the ICU that nebulized glutathione is going to cure you. I'm not saying that, but am I saying it could be helpful? Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And if I'm in the hospital, man, I'm having them drip IV vitamin C. I'm going to have them drip I'm going to try to have them nebulize glutathione. You may not be able to get this done in a hospital. So try to have your own stack ready ahead of time. I have my own nebulizer. I have my own, silver I'm ready to nebulize, or glutathione if I need. Right now, I'm just doing NAC. That's enough. But I may do a round here after our call and do some nebulized glutathione just to get my levels ready to go. What that does is that upregulates your redox pathways. Okay. Your redox pathways are the pathways, they work in your mitochondria and they give off electrons to help stabilize oxidative stress and excess inflammation. So a lot of these infections, they're going to create inflammation, and that inflammation is going to create a whole bunch of issues and can result in pneumonia and decrease oxygen exchange and all these different things that require a ventilator and antibiotics. So the more we can squelch that fire, right, and support the immune system, because glutathione also modulates the T regulatory cells, which help with the immune response. It's going to help you not even fall prey, right? We want to be in the 10 to 20x of people that get sick and have no symptoms. That's where we want to be.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's important right there too. So let's hammer that. 90+% of people that get sick have no symptoms. And guess what? You're probably going to have lifetime immunity. So if we're concerned about getting sick, well, why don't we lead with the information? You have a 90% chance of getting the virus and having no symptoms at all and having lifetime immunity. How about that? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting too? My mom called me because she's in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is basically shut down because of all of it. All the casinos and the industry basically just kind of closed up overnight. And she asked me the question. She said, Evan, I looked up the symptoms and all I could find were really like fever and cough. So she was asking me, why is everybody saying, well, this many people infected, this person tested positive, that person tested positive, as if it's a death sentence if you get a positive result. And I told her, well, I think what you said was very true, which is what I told her. If it bleeds, it leads. The numbers take away from the reality of the symptoms. Like Senator Rand Paul tested positive. He says he has 0 symptoms. He feels perfectly fine. He's amazing and ready to work. So I just told her that if they try to change the story of Tom Hanks tested positive, but yet he feels great, that doesn't sound very good. That's not a very good article. Instead, it's, oh my God, Tom tested positive. Here's what he's doing,
100%. And I saw a study or information, I think by the WHO in an article over the weekend, that 95 to 99% of people that are going in that think they have coronavirus and they get tested don't have it. And I heard one anecdote this weekend from a doctor at a hospital in upstate New York. And I'm not sure how true this is. It's anecdotal, but they said, yeah, hey, we have over 100 people in our hospital right now that are sick. Not one had corona. They're all flu, which statistically makes sense. That's why I'm like, man, I don't understand. If 35 million people are getting flu and like 1% of them are hospital, that's still a lot of people that are coming in from flu. You would think a lot of these hospitals are already occupied with flu and that we'd be used to that level. So we'll have to see how it all flushes out statistically. I'm really piqued. So in general, look at the data and just know you have a much higher chance, especially if you're under the age of 65, 70, and you don't have any respiratory issues,
Yeah.
And then,
All right.
and then if you do all the extra things to help those redox pathways work, NAC, vitamin C, etc.
Yeah, let's get back to a few other action steps. I think acupressure mats could be very helpful.
Yep.
It's basically like a little piece of foam with a bunch of little plastic sort of fine needles. Now, they don't actually penetrate the skin. They don't puncture the skin, but they just sort of rest up against your body. So you can lay on an acupressure mat, and within 5 to 10 minutes, you get this rush of endorphins, and it's extremely relaxing. You may get goosebumps when it happens, but you can feel that parasympathetic response kind of turn on. So acupressure mats are something. If the massage studios closed and you can't go get an in-person massage, to me, if you had your spouse give you a massage, or if you had like a TheraCane or some sort of like a massage tool, like a lot of chiropractors offices will carry some of these massage type self-massage tools, and then the acupressure mat. I think those are also going to be great, just because people, when they're in the fight or flight, they tend to tense up, right? So now you're tensing your shoulders and your back, and we've got a lot of people that may have fibromyalgia or other issues that are flaring up just due to their bodies being tense from a physical perspective. And then let me piggyback on that. Epsom salt baths are something you could do at home. Now, I've gotten several emails from some of the local flotation therapy locations. Their water's always been purified with UV and ozone and hydrogen peroxide and all that. So they're saying, hey, we're still open for business. You could still come in and do a flotation therapy where you're floating in 800 to 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt, and that's very beneficial for the nervous system. But if you're paranoid or your places are closed, throw a pound or two of Epsom salt at home, and that would be very beneficial as well, just to calm you down.
100%. And also there are some strategies. It's like with the economy kind of being on lockdown, it's like we can talk about some of them, but if with the economy's closed down, you may not be able to access them. So I'm going to talk about things that I'm doing and then maybe add these to your toolbox for next time. So I have an infrared near sauna, far infrared, near infrared. So I'm utilizing that daily to increase my body temperature. The virus does not like higher temperature. Number two, with the humidity and the temperature increasing, studies that I showed last week in my YouTube videos, that the virus doesn't like it, doesn't live as long, doesn't replicate as well. So higher temperatures will be helpful. Utilize a sauna if you can to help improve your body temp. I'm also using near and far infrared, or near and red infrared or red light, to help stimulate my immune system as well. So those are big strategies I'm doing on top of that. And then you mentioned the Epsom salts. So if you have access to Epsom salts, dump a couple of pounds in your bathtub and float around for 20, 30 minutes and really get that parasympathetic system stimulated.
And here's one other point too. Even if you look into the research and you may see conflicting studies on sauna for colds or sauna for flu or viruses or whatever, even if that's true, it's still been proven that sauna reduces overall mortality, period. I've looked at dozens of studies just on overall mortality, hypertension, all those things that are comorbidities along with these deaths. Those situations get improved, meaning if you're somebody who has borderline hypertension or you do have hypertension, the sauna alone will therefore reduce the blood pressure, and therefore that reduces your risk of corona being a bigger deal if you were to get infected. So so even if someone, I'm always thinking devil's advocate. Well, sauna, conflicting studies on the flu. Okay, so what it still helps blood pressure. It still helps increase circulation. It increases blood flow. Those are all beneficial in their own right, even if you remove the possibly conflicting study on whether it really helps with the virus or not.
110%, 110%. So really, really good intel there on that. There's a couple of the things you said that I wanted to hit. So we were talking about the Epsom salt. Oh, also just really understand the people that are highest at risk are senior citizens. Why are they higher at risk, right? It's not just because they're older, they're higher at risk, okay? Number one, older people have what? Less hydrochloric acid. What does that mean? They're not going to have the ability to digest certain minerals, magnesium, zinc. They're not going to have enough of the digestive nutrients to break down fatty acids. So part of the reason why elderly people have weaker immune system, it's not rocket science. A lot of the amino acids like glutathione precursors and NAC and vitamin A and these minerals like zinc and selenium and magnesium that are important for their immune function, they're just so low in it. So if you're at home and you're eating, make sure your diet is pristine. Get extra water with minerals in it. Take a high quality multivitamin supplement. Get extra cod liver oil and fish oil. Eat high quality meat. Like, do your best to make sure your diet is perfect right now, because part of the reason why the elderly are so affected is because there's compound interest, so to speak, right? Compounding bad habits working against them, and you have compounding nutrient deficiencies getting worse into their 60s and 70s and 80s, and now their immune system is compromised because of it.
Yep, well said. And when my wife and I were at the grocery, now granted, if we go somewhere like Whole Foods, there's generally going to be healthier options, but you could still buy unhealthy crap at Whole Foods. You could still buy tons of sugars and chocolate chip cookies and graham crackers, and all that stuff was wiped out. So I know people are trying to focus more on like your non-perishable items, but you want to try to think about more healthy non-perishable choices. So maybe like some grass-fed beef jerky. I've got some bison jerky. I've got elk meat. I've got all sorts of different various nuts and seed mixes, pumpkin seeds and things like that. So just because you have to think, and I don't even know if I don't see so far, I read that Los Angeles, for example, is working really hard to make sure that no power interruptions of the electrical grid happen at all. So you kind of don't have to think non-perishable. You should be fine to purchase fresh items.
Should be good. Like for me, lots of collagen amino acids, lots of coconut oil, so I can always lean on those amino acids and fats. And then you can always buy a whole bunch of cans of lentils. I don't love them, but at least they stay around a while. So if you want to buy a couple dozen cans of that just for more peace of mind as worst case scenario, have a backup plan. But if not, there should be no shortages right now. Thank you to the truckers in our country, and the supply chain is still intact. There's nothing wrong with the supply chain, so there shouldn't be an issue with that. Just people be smart. Don't go buy two months of toilet paper at one time, because the supply chain can't handle that much demand at once. So people, if you're out there, just kind of buy a reasonable amount, and hopefully stores will start setting limits on it, because people are just, one store yesterday, a guy came in and bought all the toilet paper in one store at one time. It's just crazy. I don't get it.
Yeah, here locally, there's pretty much signs on everything. You can only buy 2 of these, 4 of these. Like Whole Foods was maxing you out at 4 bags of frozen vegetables and basically 4 of everything was the max.
Smart.
Like butter. I think you could only buy 2 packs of butter at a time. But here's the thing,
and that's another great calorie source. Buy a bunch of sticks of butter if you can, because dense calories, a lot of fat soluble vitamins. You don't need a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my daughter a half tablespoon or a tablespoon of butter, and she'll love it. I mean, it is super fuel. So if you're thinking non-perishable, though, I saw no shortage of beef jerky, grass-fed meats that were dried out. Epic bars are something that we've talked about before. I buy a company called Mission Meats. They've treated me really well. They have like turkey sticks and things like that you can have. So there are, and then also, let's just say you do get a bunch of berries. You could freeze them if you needed to. If you're like, okay, I bought these, 4 pounds of berries, now they're going to go bad. Okay, freeze them. Like nothing wrong with having a freezer full of blueberries.
100%. And then we've already done podcasts on what to do when you get sick and to prevent sickness. We've done the last 2 weeks, different podcasts on that topic. And I have an article on what to do when you get sick, part 1, part 2. So we'll just kind of reference those for the more in-depth information. And if you guys are aware of it and you digest it and you listen to it, that's going to empower y'all. And then in the future, we'll make sure, you know, you're stocked up, have a little bit of extra nutrients and immune support coming into the holiday season. So absolutely, man. Anything else you
Yeah,
want to highlight today, Evan?
I could go on and on with some of the stressor stuff. Ashwagandha is very helpful. There's many different benefits for it, but ashwagandha is particularly beneficial in this time. Lemon balm.
Holy basil as well.
I love holy basil. I
Yeah.
feel great on it. Holy basil would be another great strategy right now for the nervous system. Lemon balm is awesome. Motherwort is another good favorite calming herb of mine. Passion flower could be very helpful if you get into kind of a panic attack mode. Passion flower could really settle you down. So if you're in like full blown panic, I don't know, maybe a news article triggers you or you see a video or something triggers you. Okay, let's say you're in crisis mode. Top 5 things I would do. Number 1, start running your Epsom salt bath. If you could throw in maybe a couple drops of some lavender essential oil into your
Yep.
bathtub as well. Turn on some classical music. Start listening to that. Put on like a nice organic candle without fake fragrance in it. Go ahead and start tapping. I'm calm. Even though I have this anxiety, I deeply love and accept myself.
Yep.
Take a shot of passion flower. Get you a magazine. You know, I bought my daughter like a magazine all about dogs. She just loves to look at the pictures of the dog. Find something that takes your mind off it. If you go hop in a bath with Epsom salt, you're playing classical music, you took a shot of passion flower, and maybe you're drinking some chamomile tea, I think you're going to be settled down pretty darn quick.
Yeah, I think you will be too, 100%. And then also, just kind of have a list of things that you can go to if you do get sick. So then you have that list already ready to go. Also, melatonin has been shown with this virus to be very helpful at supporting it. Something the virus interacts with the melatonin receptor at some way, and the melatonin seems to be supportive. So if you're having a hard time winding down at night, I'm okay with 1 to 3 milligrams of melatonin before bed to kind of get your nervous system at ease. Plus, melatonin does drop down cortisol. So acutely, I'm fine with a little bit higher dose on this just to help with your immune system and to help with the virus.
Yeah, well, melatonin is a super powerful antioxidant as well. So I think that's got a side benefit too. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to highlight, Evan?
No, that's it. We're still available. We're still running full time here. So if somebody needs to reach out, even if it's just for this kind of a urgent, hey, I need help type situation, you could feel free to reach out to Justin at justinhealth.com for a consultation via phone. You don't have to be anywhere. You could be sitting on your couch talking with him, or me, evanbrand.com is my website. And we're happy to help. Of course, we're wanting to just build up our clients in general, meaning get you as healthy as possible so you have the least amount of risk now. But we're also doing a few tweaks and other strategies to implement, like the air purifiers. Those can kill viruses or suck out viruses too.
Yeah.
So air purification, water purification, all the stuff we always talk about, it still counts.
100%, Evan. Yeah, and if people want to reach out, a lot of people are restricted because of the situation, not going out and such as much. We are available virtually all over the world. So feel free to head over to evanbrand.com or justinhealth.com and reach out. Put your comments down below. Let me know kind of your thoughts on things. What are you doing? What aren't you doing? And how's your health in general? I want to know strategies that you're using to help keep you healthy right now that's making a difference. Anything else, Evan?
Yeah, last thing, and I'm opening a can of worms at the end, so I apologize. But keep in mind that 80% of your immune system or more is in your gut. And so if there is something going on, bacterial overgrowth, candida, parasites, things like that, I'm not going to say, quote, you're more at risk, but I would just say that it would be good to get those gut infections and other issues addressed if you can. Try to gain the upper hand on those, reduce your stress bucket, reduce your toxin bucket, and that would include those infections.
Yeah, and let's shift our thinking too. If I say you have a 1% chance of dying, that kind of stresses you out a little bit. But if I say, hey, you have a 99% chance of surviving, it has a different physiological response. I think you feel a little bit better when you focus on the 99% number. Would you agree?
I would totally agree.
And that affects your cortisol levels, and your cortisol impacts your immune system. So try to look at everything and spin it into your favor. Not saying you lie to yourself. I'm just saying you look at everything in a way that empowers you versus disempower you.
Yeah, think about, okay, I just read this article. Do I feel better or worse after reading it? I feel worse. Okay, what can I do to feel better? Because feeling worse is not going to help me. I'm still in the same situation. I'm still in the same boat. I still have to go through my daily routine, put my pants on, feed myself, take care of my family. So what can I do to take that away? Okay, I'm going to focus on, hey, vitamin C. I'm going to go drink some vitamin C or pop a couple caps. Okay, you know what? I feel a little better. Maybe I've reduced my risk by 5%. Great. I feel good. Focus on the positives. It's easy to forget.
Excellent, Evan. Hey, everyone, if you guys enjoyed this, sharing is caring, give us a thumbs up, a like, a comment, share it to family or friends that can benefit. We really appreciate it. You guys have a good one. We'll be back, and I'll be doing live Q&As this week, so make sure you tune in for more great intel. You guys take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.